Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice for Radio. So today, well, we've got more news. I didn't expect to do another news video. In fact, I literally did a news video earlier today, but it turns out there's more news, quite big news, in fact. So, double news video all the way across the sky. Our thanks go to the lovely folks over at TotalCards.net, who have gone and revealed that Sword and Shield 3 is going to be called Pokemon Sword and Shield Darkness Ablaze, and it is going to be released on the 14th of August, 2020. Now, this is very interesting to me, because the release date should have been the 7th of August. Now, I say should have been because, generally speaking, the releases are the first Friday of the month in February, May, August, and November. First Friday in a month being Friday the 7th, but instead, we're actually looking at the 14th, which is very interesting to me. Now, this shouldn't actually affect the legality of the set, because sets will be legal on the third Friday in the month when they're released, but it does mean they're releasing a week later. Could this have something to do with the fact that the Pokemon World Championships has been cancelled this year? I have absolutely no idea, I'm afraid. It's not the kind of thing people are really going to talk about, unfortunately. It's just one of those curious things. The fact that it is coming out a week later is odd. Does that mean they will add a third week of pre-releases to the usual two? Is it something just as simple as production? We all know that an awful lot of people haven't been going to work at the moment with everything going on in the world. So, similarly, we know that production in a lot of places will have been slowed down. So maybe this is nothing more than them just saying, you know what? We need an extra week to get this rolling. I don't really know. It's not going to make a huge difference, if I'm honest with you, because the set's still coming out. It's coming out a week later. And, I mean, to take the quote from the rotation announcement last year, new expansions become legal for tournament play on the third Friday of the month they are released. So, it's not actually going to affect the legality. Now, my good friend the lovely Primal Lugia has pointed out that, yeah, but things are exceptions all over the place at the moment. Does that actually mean that they're not going to make an exception now? No, it doesn't mean they're not going to make an exception now. But as it stands at the moment, I think assume that it's going to be legal on the 21st, unless we're actually given a reason to think otherwise. So the release date is a little bit weird. What do we know about it? Well, we have been told it is likely to feature Pokemon such as Eternatus VMAX and Grimmsnarl VMAX. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, and here's why. Now, we know that there are going to be two Japanese sets that will make up the bulk of this expansion. And one of them is going to be Explosive Walker. Now, Explosive Walker is Sword and Shield 2A. And we know that our Sword and Shield 3 is going to be made up of Sword and Shield 2A in Japan and Sword and Shield 3 over in Japan. And we know that Sword and Shield 2A is Explosive Walker, and we've seen Explosive Walker. We'll have a look in a minute where we can see exactly which cards have been confirmed as coming out from that set. We also know that it is going to be featuring Sword and Shield 3. Now, Sword and Shield 3 is World Down, except World Down was actually changed to Infinity Zone. So it was called World Down, it's now called Infinity Zone. I did a video about it, I'll link it in the description. And we don't know very much about this really at all. We know it's going to feature Eternatus V and Eternatus VMAX. We know that it's basically a darkness Pokemon rather than dragon, which it could be. Still no word on dragon Pokemon, incidentally. And we know that it will include cards that support Eternatus VMAX. As a little prediction from myself, though I have no proof of this at the moment, we know we're getting Horror Energy as a special Psychic type energy. And we know we're getting Speed Energy as a special Lightning type energy. They're actually both in Rebel Clash. And we know that there is a fire-type special energy, which is coming in Explosive Walker in Japan, so it's going to be in this set as well, which gives any fire Pokemon it's attached to an extra 20 HP. Expect that Infinity Zone is going to have a special Darkness-type Pokemon, and given that Speed Energy is draw 2 cards, and the Fire Energy is extra 20 HP, and Horror Energy is take 2 damage counters when you attack, I think it's fair to assume that the number 2 will be in there somewhere. So that's kind of interesting to me. Now, if we actually go back to the name of the set in English is, of course, Darkness Ablaze. Well, we know that Infinity Zone, Sword and Shield 3, is Darkness featured. And we know that Sword and Shield 2A is Explosive Walker, which is your fire-themed set. So if we're smashing together a Darkness-themed set and a fire-themed set, calling them Darkness Ablaze, I mean, come on, that writes itself. So that does make perfect sense to me, and it's another reason why, although this hasn't been officially confirmed by the Pokemon Company, and is unlikely to be for a little while, I mean, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? So, what about Grimmsnarl V Max? Now, this is a prediction made by the lovely folks over at TotalCards.net, and it does make sense. Because you see, in addition to those 2 little sets I've told you about, there are also Grimmsnarl and Charizard V Max decks, which have been released over in Japan. Now, these were not in any particular set. These were extra ones off to the side. They were extra decks which were released on their own as a little bit of fun. So we don't actually know if they're going to be in this set or not. I think it is extremely fair to assume that either we're going to be getting both the Grimmsnarl and the Charizard VMAXs and Vs, or none of them. But I'm afraid I don't feel confident standing up right now and saying, yes, we are definitely getting these, because honestly, I don't know if we're going to or not. As always, I'm afraid I don't have time to really dig into everything about these cards in this video, but I have done videos about them. I will pop a link in the description. And I should say, it is worth pointing out, there was really one other really relevant card that came out in those 2 decks, and that was the Hydreigon that just let you attach as much Darkness Energy during your turn as you like. Very much in the vein of old cards like Blastoise or Emboar, for argument's sake. So that's kind of cool. There were a couple of trainers that came in that set as well. Ones that haven't been released elsewhere, but I don't think anything that's going to really start to break the game, shall we say. Now, in terms of Explosive Walker, we have seen everything from Explosive Walker. And Explosive Walker is quite a fun little set. I mean, in terms of Vs and VMAXs, we're getting Butterfree V and Butterfree VMAX. We're getting Centiskorch V and Centiskorch VMAX. We're getting Vikavolt V, which is basically the new Seismitoad. 2 energy, 50 damage, and your opponent is item locked. So, of the ones that has been confirmed that are, well, essentially been confirmed that are coming in this expansion, Vikavolt is probably the most exciting of them. We're also getting Gardevoir V and Gardevoir V Max, and we're getting Graplocked V and Galarian Stunfisk V, which is kind of exciting if I'm honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty gosh darned exciting. We are also getting Glimwood Tangle, which is a stadium card, which has the same effect as the old Victini, lets you reflip coins if you don't get the flips that you want. And that is an effect we haven't had for a little while, so that's actually legitimately, genuinely relevant. And Kabu's kind of a weird one, in that, no, I don't think Kabu is this particularly amazing card, but you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 4 cards. But if it's your only Pokemon in play, you draw 8 cards instead. Bearing in mind we're losing a bunch of cards to the rotation like Cynthia and Lily, and also Tate and Liza. This could be a draw card that a bunch of people actually end up playing, given that it's going to be one of not that many options. Oh yeah, and it's also bringing in that mad party with stuff like Poltergeist. Does 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in the discard pile with Mad Party. Very much like Lost Zone or Night March, for instance. Plus, Poltergeist has a built-in ability that lets you discard a Lost Party member while drawing 2 cards. I think that actually is something we should be getting a little excited about. Personally, I do think it's better than Night March or Lost March in a vacuum. Obviously, this is all metagame dependent, but we're going to have to wait to see what happens when it actually comes out. That's basically what we know at the moment. We know that Explosive Walker is going to be in the set. And as a side note, I have done a top 10 of that, etc. I'll link a bunch of stuff in the description. And we know that it's going to feature Infinity Zone, though the only thing we know about that is Eternatus V, Eternatus V Max, cards that help. But we've not seen what those cards are. And it may or may not feature Grimmsnarl or Charizard. They were in their own sets off to the side, so maybe we get them in the set, maybe we get them as alternate art, maybe they end up being promos instead. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, shout out to the lovely folks at Total Cards for breaking the news, and we know it's coming out on the 14th of August. So there we go. And now it's over to you, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Tell me what you think about these news. Tell me what you think about the cards we know are coming. Tell me what you think is coming. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.